G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David. Thanks for watching my channel, and as always this time of year I have my club exhibition on at the Footscray Community Arts Centre, 45 Moreland Street, Footscray, on the 26th and 27th of July this year. Please come along and support the club and support me, and hope to see you all there. This is in Melbourne, Australia, in case you weren't aware. See you all there. Thanks for watching. Here today to show you maybe a bit of a technique or tip about working with younger Japanese black pine. These two trees are good examples of younger material in the sense that they're still growing and getting thicker, and I'm still developing the trunks rather than the branching. This one in particular is just purely growing a sacrifice branch, and really I'm only focusing on this part for the tree. I'll talk about this one in a minute. And then this is another one that has a very large sacrifice branch, but you would have seen it in the past. I've started to style it and wire it and put it in position. Now it's actually start of winter here, end of autumn, start of winter, so it's a good time to clean up these trees and do something with them. Now first one I'm going to address is this smaller tree. The reason I want to do the smaller tree is give you an idea of energy. It's about the energy in this tree. Now, if you can see, all I'm focused on right now is, I'll show you quickly a view of the tree. I'll zoom in. In here is really the best feature. The nice Thunbergii, nice small fat trunk. This is a gin now. There used to be a sacrifice branch going up. Now I've got a sacrifice branch going out this way. Now what a sacrifice branch does is it thickens up the base of the trunk, or the base thickens up the tree really. If you have a low one, it tries to thicken up the base, which is great, and the Thunbergii. Have a high one, it just thickens up the whole trunk, which is great too. But overall, I want to focus on having a very mini with a very small, with a very, very beautiful big base. Now I've got this little bit of foliage here. Now it is not as strong as all the foliage in the sacrifice branch. Now you want to actually have balanced energy in the tree, or energy, if it's unbalanced, then parts of the tree will get the parts of the tree which have more needles and more foliage get more of the energy that the roots can give. Okay, so in this case, this will get all the energy compared to this. That's why this looks a bit struggling. So I've been very naughty. I should have done more cleanup work on the sacrifice branch. I still want the sacrifice branch. I want this tree to thicken up a bit more, thicken up the base, and get this really strong before I cut it off, and then just start working with just this part of the tree. It's almost there, maybe another year or two of growing this sacrifice before it's ready. So what I'm going to do is just balance the energy. Now I just simply go along. I don't mind, I don't care about the branching, it's all the needles. So I'm going to actually remove as much of the old needles as I can. I'll pluck them off. If I break a branch, oh well, who cares? But just try and balance all that needles, all that old needles. I'm just going to get rid of it all and just leave the new buds and the new needles kind of thing. So this should help balance the energy and giving this part of the tree a lot more strength. So I'm just going to do this and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, so a very simple process of just taking the old needles off. Now I thinned it out quite a bit. Most importantly, I left the candles at the tips alone. Don't cut those candles off. That's what's going to boost next growing season and push the energy out, and you want them to keep growing. So that is just going to keep growing, but now that foliage is kind of balanced out with this foliage. I'm not going to touch any of this because I want the tree to feed this a bit more. Let this keep growing, which it will naturally anyway, but I wanted the tree to start feeding this part of the tree more so that I can cut this off quicker, and I'm happy with the size of the tree. So this is going to be a beautiful little Shohin sized tree eventually. I'll bring this all back in. Looks really nice. It should be a fantastic little mini with a really nice big base. So growing sacrifice branches also need to make sure you keep that in check and balance the energy. Okay, let's move on to this tree. So this pile of needles was from the previous sacrifice branch. That's pretty good. This tree is much more advanced. It's grown the big trunk, it's got the branching starting to happen, it's a bit all over the place. The sacrifice branch is at the back, which is a good thing. So when I cut that off, I'll cut a stub first, and then I'll cut it back all the way to the base of the trunk. I don't really want a gin there. I just want to have a nice clean part there, and that eventually will heal over, and that should make a nice base The base is getting nice and thick as well, which is great. So it's really looking good. This is doing its job. But again, I'm going to thin this out to balance the tree. But we're not sure. I guess we're not sure how much of this I'm going to also do. So I've also need to work on this. This has had some wire done to it. You would have seen it in previous videos on my channel. I would have done previous work on this, wired it up. You'll see there's wire on this tree. Now I need to go through each branch and just needle pluck and bud select. Just normal autumn/winter work that you've seen on my channel many times. You pluck the old needles off. As long as you don't want back buds and stuff like that. Back budding happens when you feed the tree heavily and then prune back, which is another story. But in this case, I'm just developing the branches. So I'm just gonna needle pluck and bud select back to 2 at all the points, at all the tips where I cut the candles off in summer. So there's a whole process with back pines. I do it twice a year, work on them twice a year. In summer, you candle prune the whole tree, take off all the candles on black pines. And in autumn or /winter, we come back, and where we cut those candles off, you'll have multiple buds. You go back to 2. Go back to 2 buds there, and they'll be the next growth the next year. So, and also needle pluck the old needles, so it looks nice and neat. So I'll leave this alone for a minute, just show you what I'm going to do over here. So I will go through this tree, working from you probably can't see the long branch. Before I start from this branch, I'll needle pluck it. Also, maybe it's time to make some design decisions if I need to change anything. I need to think about doing that work now. So I'm just going to needle pluck and bud select in these branches, and I'll come back and show you. It's nothing really that hard. You just go through it. I'll just see if I can move this around, and I'll work on this tree, this part of the tree here, so you can see it. There's all these old needles that are on the old side, so they're behind the new candle that grew. In this case here, I've only got one bud, so I'm just going to leave that one alone. That only needs one. There's not multiple. Sometimes you get multiple, sometimes you don't. Needle pluck the old ones. The old ones are much further down the branch than the new bud. So needle pluck. So just cleaning them up. So we kind of got, they're a little bit long, the needles. Now that's a natural thing. There's not enough buds and candles and foliage on this tree to start making smaller and smaller buds. On my older trees, there's moss. The buds are tiny now. It's starting to get very small in black pine. You eventually can reduce to that once the actual tree keeps going, developing more and more buds and so on. So just go through it. I'm getting a lot of back budding as well still, because I've cut this tree back heavily. So when you feed a tree heavily and then cut back, you get back buds everywhere. So I've got back budding happening all over the place, which is good news. But I'm just needle plucking the old needles, looking for new buds and leaving them alone if it's back budded, and then bud selecting back to 2. So that's all I'm going to do. It's a little bit boring, but it's a must-do job, I guess. Needle plucking and bud selecting back results in this kind of tree. So it's not looking too bad. I have indicated the front some time ago in that area. The branching is not ideally placed, but I can get things bent down and maneuvered into the places I need it to go. The tree's pretty healthy up the top in certain areas. In some of these areas, a little bit weaker. In this area, it's a bit unusual. So not 100% happy with the branching, but I think we can still work with it. I've noticed I'm regrowing a new apex. I've cut the old one off. That was here. So there was an old one here that I cut off last year. And I've started to wire up this one and so on. Now, these ones have grown. These ones have a candle that I just let go and elongate the whole way. I've got lots of little buds around the base. Now, I'm never going to use all of this. I'm always going to use just the inner buds in here. Now, if I let this keep going too much, these ones are going to get weaker and weaker, and I want to encourage that. So I'm just going to take the middle one out for now and leave a little stub, as I always do. Just take the middle one out. It's like candle pruning. And there's also one at the back. I'm going to do the same thing. That's pretty much the only 2 cuts I'm going to do on this tree at this stage. I don't want it to waste energy going up anymore in this area. I want the smaller buds to start happening. I also noticed a lot of back budding on this tree. So because I did major cuts in certain areas, it started to back bud, which was good, which is a good result. Now I've still got this guy, and I want to leave it on for a bit longer. But now if you have a look, how much foliage, how much needles there are compared to this. So again, I'll need to do the same process of reducing this to kind of balance up with this energy. And then what I'm going to do is actually going to wire up this tree, this part of the tree, the main branches anyway. The reason I'm doing that is I want to keep progressing and pushing the tree along. I don't want to wait too long to wire and miss my opportunity to set the branches, things like that. So great time that after you've done your needle plucking, bud selecting, you can actually wire the tree. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to probably eliminate a few branches that I don't need. But overall, I'm just going to keep continuing to set the structure of this tree. So you can see from this young stage to something a bit more developed, and I've got one more tree to show you in this video of the next stage after this. So let me clean up this needles, all these needles on the sacrifice branch, and we'll have a look at the other tree. Oh, sorry, I'll clean up the needles, wire the tree, and then you can see the result for now. So here's the next iteration of this tree and how it's developing. I fixed up a lot of the structural wiring in this tree, made sure any branches that I need that I'm going to keep or potentially keep, I've now wired. Need to let them grow out and form into place. Now I've reduced the sacrifice branch quite substantially, so it should balance out with all the other branches. You can see about the same needles on all the different branches, so it's pretty balanced now. That's probably going to be there for another year or two. I don't think it's doing much more now. The tree is pretty strong and doing really well, and I want to direct all that energy back into the foliage now, building the tree up. There's a lot of young stuff up in the top. This has to develop quite a bit, but structurally the branches are there. So that's kind of the next phase in this project. This is a young pine to me. It's still very young in development. That's really young, and this is still young, but we're doing all the right things for it. We're growing it on sacrifice branches and so on. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to probably the next phase of this. After the wires have been set, the branches have been set, there's no more sacrifice branches, and we get to start really working on the tree. So I'll show you the next phase. All right, so here's the next tree, next iteration of the tree, I guess, in terms of the next stage. So this is now more refinement stage. The branches have still wire on them, but they're still a bit messy, but at least the structure's there. All the branches are there and structured, and so on. So I'm just going to clean up this tree, bud select, needle pluck, that kind of stuff, so I can expose for you the structure, and then we'll deal with some issues with this tree that I have, and I think you can probably make it out anyway, some of the issues. But I'll show you what I love with the tree. I love the Nagari style. The base is huge and really interesting. I love this first big branch. It's really interesting. It really is quite special on this tree. But we'll deal with the issues that I have with this tree, and I'll show you what we need to do with them. And then look at rewiring, taking the wire off. It's actually starting to cut in a lot of areas. So that kind of stuff. Okay, let me clean up the tree so you can have a better look at it. So after needle plucking and bud selecting, the actual tree's coming along really well and developing really well. As I said, I really love the low branch. A lot of these branches are starting to form, which is quite nice. I'm going to have to take all this wire off. There's a lot of wire in here that's cutting in. But you could probably see the issue I have. If I put it there especially. Can you see the issue? Yeah. This. Now, I developed that initially to, as I said, regrow the top, because I had to do, there's a big trunk chop in the back here. It's a big trunk chop here. And I regrew it, and I had to try and thicken it up. So I was trying to get that to catch up to this at least. I mean, it's getting some thickness, but it's okay. However, it's time to actually start developing the crown or the apex of the tree. Now, I need to actually, this is so far forward, it's too heavy. Now, there are two buds, a nice little branch there and a nice little branch at the back that's in here as well, which is great. So I'm going to give this a cut this top off. I'm going to leave a stub on it so that dies back naturally. I'll just show you what it's going to look like, because at the moment this is too high, too forward, and so that's the issue I was going to talk about. So I'm just going to leave a stub so that we can die back naturally. And normally I like to, I know winter's fine to do these trunk chops, and well, it's not a trunk chop, it's just cutting a branch off, so I have to cut that much off. I seem to like doing these kind of chops in the summer, because the tree's still growing, and you won't get, I would never do this in spring, because the sap flow would be ridiculous. but in summer, I mean, at this time of year it's good too, but I don't mind doing it in summer. So that will just die back naturally, and then I'll clean it up in the future. So I've got two nice little buds in here that we'll have to regrow and start to build the apex in here. So I've got all these branches now I've got to deal with. There's a lot of candles that are long, so I might cut them back to a smaller one. But I've got to get all this wire off now. There's a lot of wire on this, so I'll get all the wire off, rewire the tree, and you can see the progress it's making. So it's just year by year, the progress gets better and better, just slowly getting better and better until you have a really good tree to display. All right, let me show you the finished product. So you can see now the kind of where I'm at with the tree. It looks really, really good. I'm really happy with cutting it back, the apex. Now it's just going to be a very small apex. Do you see how it just needs to fill out that area in this spot in here? So there's a couple of nice little short branches that just need to fill out, and I'll keep them, you know, go through the whole process of candle cut, bud select, and keep them small, keep them really tiny and small, and that should just fill out. And a lot of these small ones, I haven't totally wired all the branches, but I've got most of them. I didn't want to do the fine stuff, I just want to do the main structural. Now the other good thing was I tried to find any issues with the tree. So if there's a bit of a gap in here, so I've just wired some smaller candles, or the candles that are actually this year's growth. They actually grew here, so I'll actually wire them into this place. So I want to build a branch out there, so that's a good chance to do that. Also did the same thing in the back here. There's a bit of a gap, so I've wired this branch into here, this branch into here, and this branch I will get it to grow into here. So by doing that, you can actually fill in the blanks, and that's how I went about doing it. And actually will come up good. Another bit more, a couple more years growing, and that should be really good, filling those gaps in there. So that's come up really well. So the important lesson here is with black pines, you've got to do something. Just do something, okay? Don't let them go. Always be working on them twice a year, pretty much what I do. Always have plans for them. You just have to do twice a year. That's not that hard to accomplish. So please just get your black pines worked on, and they keep getting better and better each year. If you let them grow, if you let them go and don't do anything, you set yourself back a year or two. So very important lesson. Do something to your tree. Do something to your black pines every year. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that video on young black pines, what to do, and I'll see you around for more.